We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully your day is going well. This Rational Boomer podcast will be a TikTok live. Our touch base with TJ and Rebecca, and they're going to be here helping out, blowing out these Trump-la-fucks that want to bully their way in. You're not going to get a chance to bully here. Even if you get past TJ and Rebecca, you're going to have to deal with me, motherfucker, and that's going to be a problem for you. We're also going to have the usual suspects on here, probably Eric. I want to talk to him a little bit about what Chuck Grassley did at his town hall meeting recently. Maybe Will. Who knows? There'll be a lot of people. In fact, I'm going to be taking a lot of you folks that are watching and listening and give you a chance to make comments and ask questions. This is what I've always said. When you're doing this podcast, when I'm doing this podcast, your input is as much or more important than what I have to say. We have to create a groundswell of people that are fighting back, that are pushing back, and we're starting to see it now with the protest and such. I mean, I'm watching what's happening with AOC and Bernie Sanders. They're pulling some big crowds. One I heard 15,000, then somebody else said 34,000. So I'm not sure how many are out there. Nancy says she saw Bernie and AOC in Colorado today. That'd be pretty exciting. They were in Arizona the other day, and Old Soul was out with them there, enjoying what the heck was going on. So we got some of the regulars on. And let's see here. Okay. We've got a bunch of people with us now. We have TJ the plumber.
Hey, Mike.
Will, Rebecca, and JD Farmer. So we've got a number of folks to talk to here. You know, I decided to do this live because there's a lot of stuff going on. Tomorrow, we've got Ed on the podcast, so I wanted to do this for Sunday. So if you're listening to this in the podcast format, it is Sunday. I'm, in fact, recording it Friday night. And TJ, one of the things we need to talk about is this whole thing with Elon Musk taking a little prance through the Pentagon. We've heard so many different stories about this. What's your take on Elon going to talk to Hegseth? Two fucking clowns.
Well, the initial story was that they were going to talk about plans for war with China. And
right.
What was later said, and I'm not sure which is the truth here, is that it was Elon going to talk with Doge about any type of cuts they can make at the Pentagon, which is gonna, which it's gonna go over like a fucking lead balloon. You know how that's gonna go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they don't ever want to cut anything from the defense budget. Like, if anything, if it stays the same, you're lucky if they don't increase it. So
well, in the CR they increased it. So why would we be looking at cuts if you just increased it in the CR?
Yeah, my gut feeling is Musk got laughed out of the Pentagon. That's my gut feeling.
I'm going to point this one at Will. This is how I see it went down. Mm-hmm. They were going to send Elon, for whatever reason, wanted to get some intel on China. So Donald said, yeah, we'll send you over there, keeping it on the DL. And then it comes out in the New York Times that he's going to be looking at classified documents about potential war with China. Like, we got enough fucking shit to worry about? Now we want to worry about going to war with China, for God's sake? Anyway, so when that comes out, Donald Trump does what Donald Trump does and says, it's a hoax, it's fake news. That's really not what it was. They were supposed to go into something called the tank to do this, so that would suggest there's classified documents. Anyway, so Donald Trump backs off of that like he does. He's always backing off. And then they go there, and he does it in Pete Hegseth's office. And he probably did still see the classified documents and all this stuff. This is all just a tap dance that Donald Trump and Hegseth does. I just want to say this. People who are worried about Elon Musk seeing the classified documents, keep in mind, Pete Hegseth is running the fucking show, so how much worse could it get? Anyway, what was your take on it, Will?
Well, as that broke right at the end of our podcast recording last night, and I'm like going, "What the
Right.
hell?" Because Aaron Parnas, and who is like just breaking stuff left and right. But I thought about it right afterwards, and I did a late night video about it. Is that someone heard that he was going into the tank, and there's
Right.
people in the Pentagon who hate his ass. Now, Pete Hegseth was later on, fanboying on him and for the press, which was really disgusting. But I
Right.
know they ran to the New York Times and tattled and ratted him out, so he wouldn't go into the tank. And Trump going, he wouldn't go into the tank. And Trump going, well, he won't see classified information. My next video the next day today was, if he's going into a classified meeting, how does he not see classified material?
Yeah.
Basically, he didn't. He that story was leaked because people in the Pentagon knew that little worm could not be anywhere near any classified information, and I don't think he was. I don't think they gave it to Pete Hegseth because it can't come out of the tank. As simple as that.
Right.
And he got
Well,
caught.
here's the thing about this, though. Donald Trump saying, "Oh, I would never let him see classified documents." You mean the guy that stole 35 fucking boxes of classified documents and gave it to anybody and left it in the bathroom? Sure, we're going to trust him that he's trustworthy with classified documents. The whole thing is just fucking ridiculous.
Well, not only did he do that, but he gave him access to everyone's private financial information at the Department of the Treasury. So
Yeah, yeah.
you can't believe a
The
fucking thing he
ACH,
says.
I know.
Yep.
Well,
And
Rebecca,
I
what's
love
pissing you off
with
today?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I, I've been like I can't stop thinking about a couple of things, but one is that whole Lyndon B. Johnson 1965 federal act that or whatever, I don't know if it was an act, but where he it was basically like stop segregation, and now there's a possibility that they overturn that, and now segregation can be a thing again.
Yeah, I think we should segregate Trumplafucks into a small section of Mississippi and then light the motherfucker on fire. That's what we
Yeah,
should do
I
if we
agree.
want
I would agree with
segregation.
that, but I'm like, it like the whole thing like really bothers me. Like this is like we are so backwards right now. I can't even like wrap my head around half of the crap that is
It's history
happening.
in reverse.
It is. It's like I mean we're like so regressed. It's just ridiculous. And then the other thing is like there's so many of these individual stories about the deportation. Like it's just so many, and so many of them are just like
It's
there's like
crazy.
literally white people from freaking Germany that were here on vacation that they have detained. Like I don't even like I watched a story today about in Texas, a guy I believe was from maybe Guatemala. I can't remember exactly where he's from, a Hispanic country. But he was like posting about his neighbor, and he's trying to get the word out to everybody that his neighbor is here literally on political asylum, and his asylum was set to be it was actually supposed to expire in April, but because he has a court date, which his court date isn't until 2027, but he was
Right.
in the park, and he was like just walking in the park, and the like marshals detained him, or the sheriff's office or something from Texas, not even ICE, detained him, and they would give him no due process whatsoever, and eventually ended up turning him over to ICE, and now they suspect he's in Florida in Guantanamo Bay. His
Yeah.
family hasn't had contact with him in at least actually it's 9 days now, and like he's here legally. Like it's just I just it's just insane, and they won't, and like who's carrying around their papers in the park, you know what I mean? They wouldn't give him any opportunity to prove anything.
Well, how long
It's
is it going to be before habeas corpus is no longer a thing?
It's already no longer a thing.
yeah.
Yeah, TJ, yeah, it's already. They're picking up people and just detaining them. I mean, there was a lady from Wales who was living with someone's home. They knew that she was there without a job. They picked her up and put her in foot shackles. It wasn't until the English said, hey, stop it, that they shipped her back to Wales. One person made a comment. They're doing this because they want to pick a fight with Germany or France because they need a scapegoat because shit's not going well for them. It really isn't.
Yeah.
And they need a scapegoat. They need a war.
Well, JD,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh, TJ and I
J-
listen to this, like, we listen to punk rock music, which I'm sure you guys aren't super familiar with, but there's an old school band called the UK Subs from England, and they were supposed to play a festival last week in
LA.
California. Yeah. And they let the singer in. Everybody else got deported back to the UK. They wouldn't let them in the country.
Wow.
And
Wow.
they're white men from the UK.
Yeah, that's JD. You were talking about there is no habeas corpus or no due process anymore. When they can, they're making the excuse that they're picking up these immigrants, these gangsters. They're suggesting, and they're just picking them up, put them on a plane, and send them out of the country. And there's all kinds of shit going on with that. We're finding out now that the Republicans or Donald Trump's administration is saying, well, not all were criminals, and there might have been some citizens in there. They keep fucking up. They keep doing these things. Now, of course, they're in court over this situation and this Alien Enemies Act that Donald Trump claimed he wrote. Now that he's getting pushback from the judge, he's saying, "Oh yeah, I never signed that. I never signed that." Have you been following this, JD? Is it?
Yeah.
You got a young mind. Maybe you can keep up with it. I can't.
Well, I saw it this afternoon that he's now saying that he never signed it. Which
Right.
I just fucking laughed. It's like, bitch, 3 days ago you were bragging and bragging and bragging about how cool you were that you signed this act, and then now all of a sudden you had nothing to do with it. Now that you hear that it's unpopular.
Yeah.
Marco Rubio, he tossed Rubio under the bus for that.
He sure did.
He
For
wants
what?
Rubio to
He
get the
was-
contempt. Yeah, he's going to have. That was a bully move I've ever said. You push a bully in the corner, and they're cowards, as Mike has said, and I've run into. Now the only thing he has left is, I have no idea what you're talking about, man. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
No, he did.
Never.
It's his fault.
I don't know
notice
anything
that
about Project 2025. I don't know
Well,
anything about Epstein.
everybody who's associated with him has gone down the tubes. I mean, look at My Pillow. Look at Elon now. Tesla's people are literally in multiple cities burning and graffitiing like Tesla dealerships.
Not cities,
cannot-
countries.
I got some.
Yeah, not even just in this country. They will not. There are several insurance companies that the Tesla Cybertruck is on the not insurable list.
No, we don't insure them. We won't
Yeah.
insure them because they're rolling fire bombs.
Yeah,
We know that.
Yeah.
I
they all
got Tesla
just
tea for you
recently got
guys.
recalled.
I got Tesla tea for you real quick. Tesla is doing their quarterly numbers for the quarter coming up. They've been reading about expenditures to profit. They are missing $1.4 billion in expenses. They don't know where the money went. They don't know where it is. $1.4 billion. Now, I know where it went. We called that embezzlement. I suggest you check Elon's deposits. But that's telling you something that if that shows up in the quarter, they're fucked.
Oh yeah.
And Elon Elon is the one checking for fraud and waste in this country. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's another bit of data I saw. They were showing people who work for or are involved in owning Tesla stock. Over 750,000, well, maybe it was 500,000 shares were sold in the last month or two. Not one share was purchased. 500, 600, 700,000 shares sold off. Nobody bought a single fucking share that's tied to Tesla.
Well,
If that isn't a red flag, I don't know what is.
How do you sell something that hasn't been bought by somebody else?
Well, no,
It
this
just sits
is
there available.
Well, there's that, and we're talking about people who work within Tesla or investors in Tesla. They may have gone off to some dumb fucking southern Mississippi that had an extra $200. You know that it could have been that. I tell you what, I'm
sold them all
gonna.
for $200 actually.
Yeah, no shit. I'm going to pull up Old Soul here because I want to talk to her about the event she went to. We heard in the comments that somebody went to the AOC Bernie Sanders speech in Colorado, and it sounds like it went pretty well. Old Soul, thanks for coming on for a bit. You were in Arizona when Sanders and AOC gave the speech. Maybe you can tell us how that went.
Yeah, I ended up coming back to Vegas and going here because we had like priority access to the event. And it was
Okay.
like 3,200 people. It was like really, really good. Even like in the lines with people, some of them voted for Donald Trump, and they were just
Yeah.
pissed off. And they were, I think that AOC and Bernie did a good job trying to keep the crowd calm because they were like, "F this person," and like they was really like pissed off, and they were more pissed off than how we act. And I think it's because they know that they've been duped, and they don't really know how to deal with that in a way that's not trying to take somebody out. That's all. Like, I don't know how to say that. But it was good. It
I'm
was
cu-
3,200 people. But guess what? After that, they went to Arizona, and Arizona, 15,000 people showed up.
It sounds like there was even more in Colorado.
Oh,
I,
how
I
many
heard
was in
somebody.
Colorado?
I heard somebody throw a figure around of 34,000. I don't know that that's true, but I heard somebody say that number. No doubt, the grassroots effort and the irritation and the anger is starting to grow, and that's exactly, that's exactly what we need. I wanted to ask everybody a question here. Tim Walz was on Gavin Newsom's podcast. And he said something that made Republicans' head explode. And I don't know the exact phrase, but it was suggested that, they were talking about Tim Walz's masculinity, and Tim Walz essentially said, "Well, I could kick a Trump-la-fuck's ass, all the Trump-la-fuck's ass," and they just fucking lost it. They just lost it. I had people on Facebook. I had people just going crazy. What were your thoughts about Tim Walz striking back there a little bit?
Is it that the second time they got pissed off when he said he watches Tesla stocks like plummet for fun, and they were mad at
That
him.
too.
That made me smile.
They so like thin-skinned and emotional all the time to be a bunch of alphas.
But you notice something. This is exactly what I said we need to do. We can't just sit back and take the higher ground, or so they're mean, or policy says this. We need to get in their face and say, "You're a pussy. You're a jerk. You're a loser. You're weak. You're a coward." And that's what Tim Walz is doing. This is why I keep saying Tim Walz is trying to set himself up for something here. He's the governor of the state of Minnesota. He's all over the country giving these talks, going on these podcasts. And he may be the right guy to do it because he can get away with doing it, and he will make the Republicans' heads fucking explode.
They know he's a threat because he's
Yeah.
like beloved by everybody in every group. And the scary part about Republicans is Tim Walz is just like a regular working class person. When he don't have all that money and stuff, he talks about his brother being on Social Security, and he knows what we go through and what we feel like. And he used to be a
Yep.
teacher too. And so they know if someone like Tim Walz got up in there, it's not going to be any corporate Democrat stuff. It's going to be some real change in this country that they just don't want.
Oh, and he was a
Yeah.
football
And
coach.
more
So maybe
importantly-
he's talking about tackling them all.
Yeah.
Well, but more importantly, and I'm going to say this, forgive me, he's a white male. And he's a white male that speaks to the working class, and that scares them to death.
Yeah.
Because that man doesn't take shit. And if he said that he can take down a Trump-a-fuck, oh yeah, they wouldn't last 15 minutes with him. I don't care how big. You know why? Because he will intimidate you with his words first
Yeah.
and make you cry.
You know what? Let him keep talking that shit. Let him keep talking that smack, and he'll be our candidate.
Well, and if Schumer is going to sit back and say, "I don't know what you want me to do what Tim Walz is doing." Now, what Tim Walz didn't save any departments or anything like that, but he showed some fight. We have to have the perception that Democrats are going to fight. And at this point, it looks like Bernie Sanders, AOC, maybe Jamie Raskin, and Tim Walz. Those are the people that are fighting. A handful of people in the Democratic Party. The rest are just sitting there with their thumbs up their ass, and it's pissing me off, frankly.
I like that AOC and Bernie, and I've seen Jasmine Crockett do it as well, call out Democrats for not fighting and using the little power that they have. Even if it fails, at least people can see that they are trying. But that's not what they're seeing, so that's why we're just as hated as the Republican Party, because people feel like y'all just rolling over and letting them do that. We elected you to go to Congress and look out for us, and you're not doing it. So I appreciate it when they call Democrats out on their crap. I really do.
I think Stella, again, we talked about her, who's a real big creator, made a good comment. The problem with these Democrats, old Democrats, they keep trying to govern from the minority side. Minority sides do not govern. Minority sides put up opposition. That's the problem with Chuck Schumer. He thinks that he's part of the government. Dude, you are not. You are the frickin' opposition. Mitch McConnell knew that. You should learn your spot. Because he helped the Republicans govern because they can't govern. That's the thing. They know that. They count on it.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous what the Democrats are doing. They're starting to feel the heat now. We know that Republicans are getting a lot of shit at their town halls, but there's a lot of Democrats getting shit too. People are just as angry at Democrats for doing nothing. And it's going to be interesting to see how they react to this, how the Republicans react, how the Democrats react. They've got a lot of discontent out there, and if they hope to be elected again, they better start shaping things up here.
You know what makes me worry about what Democrats are not doing right now? I think that they feel like they don't really have to fight or put that much effort into it because Trump is so bad that they are going to get our vote in 2026 because, you know, we have no other choice, and in 2028 because nobody has another choice but to go with them. So it's like they're not fighting because they know at the end of the day we're going to vote for them anyway because the Trump administration is a poop show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think they're just laying back and waiting for them to implode. But here's what I know about bullies. You can't just beat a bully. You got to put them down permanently. Otherwise, they'll come back and fucking haunt you. And that's what we'll do we'll have with the Trump-la-fucks and Donald Trump. We've got to put them down permanently. And I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about just completely canceled, completely whatever. We got to get rid of Elon Musk. We got to get rid of Donald Trump. And once you cut the head of the snake off, then you've got a lot weaker MAGA party. But we got to be tough about it, and we can't just sit there and wait for them to do it themselves because we've been waiting for that. I mean, all of us have talked about this before. You know, surely the Republicans will see that it's taken too far and they'll do something. Well, that hasn't been the case. I'm not trusting that concept. That's logic, and I don't trust it anymore because apparently the Republicans can handle it all. They don't fucking care.
If they think that we are not going to remember this, if they think that we are not going to remember when they are running and somebody runs against them in the primaries, that they did nothing, sat back and did nothing, they didn't fight, they are sorely mistaken. Because, you know, I will take somebody who is an unknown Democrat over somebody who sat back and did nothing and didn't fight any day because quite honestly, maybe they will be the one that fights. And if they run on that campaign, if they run on that's their platform that they will be the one that fights. Hell yeah, I'm going to vote for them over the incumbent that maybe, you know, more well known.
Well, and what I was thinking about too was I know from their position in the minority right now, they're not going to pass their own legislation. I know that. But just do something. Right now you're just sitting there like a dead cat. You're not doing anything. Just, if nothing else, just make some noise, you know?
Yeah, you got to make people believe you're going to fight.
Exactly.
And Tim Walz is doing that. AOC is doing that. You know, I was watching something. Eric's not here. It would be interesting to get his input. But there was a town hall meeting with Chuck Grassley in Iowa, and it was very
horrible.
interesting.
That
And
was cool.
there was a lot of pushback. It wasn't quite as strong as some of the other ones, maybe because they afraid that at 95 years old he'd keel over and die if he got too wired up. But they were pushing back on him and saying, you aren't doing this, you aren't doing that. And this was his excuse, a flat out lie. He says, they say, how come you're not speaking out? How come you're not saying these things? Every time I walk in the halls of Congress or the halls of the Senate, there's all these media people out there, dozens of media people, and I talk to them all the time, but I never show up in the media. So he's blaming the media for not showing all the pushback that he's alleged to give. I got to tell you what, if Chuck Grassley stood up and said, yeah, Donald Trump is wrong, he should not be doing that, that'd be the top story of the fucking day. This is just another diversion and a distraction by a dumbass Trump-la-fuck who also happens to be elderly. It's annoying. He's trying to manipulate these people, and Iowa was a little more low-key than some of the other places, but he didn't have a good day that day.
No. And he dated himself like the archaic piece of shit that he is. He said, I put all my press releases and I put all my, information out on my website on a site that's called The Scoop. Like, The Scoop? What is it, 1950 fucking 5? Nobody knows what the fuck that means. I mean, I do, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a joke. It's a total fucking joke.
I'm going to bring up something that's been the theme of the day for me because I ran across this morning. So I get the morning headline from the Rolling Stone, and it says Trump is going to shut down Social Security because the judges said that no Doge officials can come in and rip up Social Security to get through people's personal information. The shit I got about that was ridiculous, but the truth is coming out now, is that the acting director of Social Security, because the judge has said you can't go put Doge in there. A Doge official cannot look at people's personal information because that's a fishing expedition. He said, hey, since everyone in the official in the Social Security is part of Doge, I'm closing it. So that's it. Let them explain. Let the judge explain when no one gets their checks. And they think that's going to work. They think they're going to get something out of that. I can't wait. Do it. Please do it.
Did you hear what
Lutnick
said?
I think her name was like Lisa Murkowski or something.
Murkowski, the senator.
The Republican. And she was like basically saying the Republicans don't like this. They don't want this. But if we don't go along with it, Elon Musk can take his next $1 billion and, campaign for a different candidate, and then I'm kicked out. She basically said that the Republicans are going along with this because they don't want Elon Musk to primary them.
Well, what they need to do is sacrifice themselves and put up a fight, because that's what they were fucking put there for, to fight for the people as opposed to fall in line with the oligarchs. Howard Lutnick was on an interview show. I'm going to pull some of the people up here. Howard Lutnick was on a show. And he said he was talking about Social Security. He was very flip about it. And this is what he said. He said, I don't think most of America would miss getting their Social Security. I have a 90-year-old mother-in-law. Who probably wouldn't even call. Well, of course not. Your son-in-law's a fucking billionaire. You're not going to starve. But here's the deal. This is what he said. This is where it's going to get him canceled. He said, look, if you shut it off for one month, you know who are the real Americans, the ones that don't say anything, but the ones that scream about it, they are the fraudsters. That's fucking going to get him canceled. We need to push that. He's basically said, if you complain about not getting the stuff that you invested in your Social Security, you're a fraudster. That's what he said. It's clear as day, and that's got to fucking stop.
And you know what
What reverse psychology is that? Who's falling for that?
That is the let them eat cake of the 21st century. Let me make this clear to you guys. There are more modern games nowadays, just so you know, if you go that far. Go ahead, JD, I'm sorry.
Right.
Well, and you know what that is, right? They're that's him setting things up to be able
Right.
to work out Social Security. Because when they stop sending out payments, they're going to get a whole fuck ton of complaints, and now they can just say, "Oh, that's all fraudsters. No big deal."
Yeah,
It's all setting it up.
he teed it up for sure. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
He did, absolutely. I'm going to pull Kelly in here.
And they
I want to get a
think that's
bunch
gonna
of people
work?
on. Yeah, it's not going to work. People starving and on the street and elderly, that ain't going to fucking work. Kelly,
Hi, Kelly.
thank you for joining us. What's up?
Hi, Miss Kelly.
Oh, nothing. I just seen this go across my wire. This Jonathan Burmis got arrested at the airport. I think that's how you say his name. He was a whistleblower against Trump. And he was
The FBI agent.
Yeah, FBI agent. Yep.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that story. What?
Well, this is just something I can't, I just looking through the feed, I'm from Iowa. I'm 63. I watched you during the election, sir.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I did. I really was hoping, I thought she would win. I mean, I completely.
I think we all did, yeah.
I mean, I still wonder about it, but whatever. But here we are now in this mess. I mean, and I was
I
looking
hadn't
at
heard of
that
this when they took him from the airport. Is he in jail here, or did they sit him off?
Well,
Like,
you know what? Who knows? I mean, this is the kind of thing like, happened in the 30s and 40s. You know what I'm saying? But, I was looking up yesterday, what are the alternatives for these judges? And basically, since they made him, immune, it's just fines.
Well,
But
what they got to do,
I don't think that John
what they,
Roberts had any effect on him at all.
well, I think it pissed him off, but I don't think he's worried about it until it gets to the Supreme Court. But what the federal judges have to do is maybe they can or cannot touch Marco Rubio or Donald Trump, but they got to start sending lawyers away and sending the people on the lower levels away. You start doing that, and then fewer and fewer people are going to be willing to do the bidding. There are some things they can do, maybe not directly to Donald Trump, but it will affect him indirectly.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Find
I
that
just don't
person
know
who
why
will
you would
push
ever
it.
let a billionaire into our business, you know what I mean? And these bunch of hackers, because all those agencies have privacy laws,
Right.
but this gives them the time to do this 2025 project, and by July they'll be done.
I wasn't
Let me ask
expecting that one that you said got arrested at the airport. I know that they, in my opinion, while they're arresting people on visas and green cards and all that stuff, is because they made it look like there's all these criminals here. And
Right.
not a bunch of criminals, but they still have to put on a show. So they're going for the lowest hanging fruit pretty much, which
Well, I
is
don't know.
it's so sad. It's like crazy.
Well, the thing of it is
Did that
that,
include French scientist?
well,
They
I
yeah,
saw
picked up
that
a
one
French
who was
scientist,
nobody wants to
and
I saw the
Go ahead.
transplant doctor that got deported as well, which is insane.
I'm
She's
sorry,
smart,
what?
she's contributing, and they deported her. She's a transplant
All right.
doctor.
Yeah.
Kelly, you were going to say something.
Oh, I forgot. He interrupted me, so I forgot.
I'm sorry.
Here's the thing to the guy.
On there.
I'm going to say something to all the people on the panel that are here all the time. If the person I bring up is talking, they take priority over everybody. You wait for them
Oh,
and let them
it
talk.
wasn't that
Okay?
important, but yeah, I
No, it is
retired-
important to me to do that. It is
Yeah,
important to me.
I retired about a year and a half ago, and I live in a town of 1,000 in Iowa. So I stay home, and I'm a blue dot in a in a red state. My senators are millionaires, super red Republicans. Grassley is one of the oldest person in the Senate, but I hardly ever leave home, and I have notebooks full of information that I've looked up. But the key is that the people that are supporting him are unwilling to look at any facts. They are.
Right,
This is going to be
right.
like C-19, where something personal is going to have to happen to them, and it
I
will.
agree.
Is most of your town MAGA? You said 1,000 people, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But I have 7 brothers, and I pretty much stick to myself anyway. I'm kind of an odd duck in this. I actually was thinking about going to Costa Rica, but I am not a world traveler, and I'm not married, and I just don't know if I could. It's cheap. It's cheaper there. It's beautiful. 2 people can live comfortably for $2,200.
Costa
But
Rica.
I would have to leave my
Been
whole
there.
family alone.
Costa Rica is amazing.
Right. But like as I said, I'm not a world traveler. But I personally, at this, I can't go anywhere if my Social Security isn't secure. So I'm like a prisoner in my own country. And,
I
and
will.
I
I
feel
will
like,
say
I
that
feel
Costa
like
Rica
young
does
people-
not have their own security. The American
I'm sorry, what?
government provides their security. So I would be a little wary right now. Maybe.
Well, I think, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But as I said, there's really, I think if I was young, I would get out now. You know, if I was a young person that might be forced into something I didn't want to do, and I had a young family, I probably would leave now.
I certainly wouldn't enter the military. Not at this point.
No,
God
you know,
knows
I'm
what
not
you're
all
up to.
about abandoning my country or anything, but I just don't think it's a safe place for anyone.
Well, we wouldn't worry
so
about you
sad.
abandoning the country. It's the country abandoning you. That's the
Well,
problem. That's what's happening.
My senator finally called me today. I left her. So you remember last Saturday's news, how awful it was, how they wiped the Hispanic and blacks and women off the veterans website.
Yeah.
And there was just a bombardment of bad news. And I totally, I've had a couple meltdowns, but that was the maddest I'd ever been my hands were shaking and I just screamed at my female one. And they called me this morning. You know what I told them? I said, I'm on my way I told her that I'm going to make it my mission in life to make sure she never gets selected again.
Absolutely. They're getting a lot of that. Kelly, thanks for joining us. We're going to bring some other people up, but I appreciate it. And best of luck to you. If you go to Costa Rica, you can still chime in. So we're here for you.
Yeah, you can go ahead and drop me, but yeah, I do have a lot of information. I have a lot of facts, and I don't think trying to convince anybody is a great idea because they just think we're trying to brainwash them, and it's going to have to happen to them before they realize it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate it. That's what we've said all along, guys. Is that there are some people in this world that don't have enough foresight or don't have enough awareness that they have to actually get bit in the ass before they make a change. They will stick to their guns as long as it doesn't hurt them or somebody they know. But as soon as it does, then they're going to be screaming like a stuck pig. And more people are being impacted by this. And I think the whole talk of Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid being cut is really making a lot of people nervous, not just Democrats.
I can't remember his name, but I did see a Republican on the television, and he was saying that in his district there was only one Social Security office, and they closed it down. And he was like, "What are my constituents gonna do now?" And it's just like, you didn't think about that before you agreed on this.
Right. Well, I'm bringing up Analytical Iowan. We were wondering where he is. Eric from Iowa. What's up, Eric?
Not much.
Eric, did you get pants from Chuck Grassley? Just asking.
No. It's not Chuck Grassley. That old
Well,
shit.
It's amazing
Did
how
you
that,
see?
Your pants up to your boobs.
Did you see the video of Chuck in his town hall? Did you see that, Eric?
No, I haven't seen that. I'll have to
oh
go
my
look for it.
God.
Well, you have to look at it. He was getting pushback, not quite as heavy as some of the other Republicans out there, but they were saying. I said this earlier, and I'll say it to you because it will be. You'll feel some kind of way about this. Everybody's saying, "Why aren't you saying something? Why aren't you saying something?" You know what Chuck Grassley's response to that was? He says, "Well, I don't know. I say stuff all the time. When I'm in the halls of the Senate, I see media people out there all the time, and I get interviewed by them, but they never post my stuff." As if he's saying negative things about Donald Trump, but the media is just choosing not to post it. Let me tell you something. In my mind, if Chuck Grassley said Donald Trump's a piece of shit, #1 story of the day. He's such a fucking God. I hate that motherfucker,
He's a
Eric.
fucking
He
liar.
might as well say the dog ate my homework.
Yeah, pretty much.
Eric, I have a question for you. So like the courts are ordering Trump to release the funds that he's holding, and
Yep.
he's not doing it. So would this be considered an impoundment period since he hasn't released it, and we have to wait 45 days for these funds to start going back to where they're supposed to?
See, where I'm not sure about is because the court is saying you must. Because
Yeah.
a lot of the funds they're saying you must release are for things that have already been completed. It's like they've got the bill in hand for work already done. This isn't
Right.
future spending. This is past spending. And I don't know if impoundment can be used for past spending because the bills do. So I don't think we can wait the 45 days. I think he's just trying to push his luck for as long as he can and hope that he gets a higher court to see it his way and say, well, the lower court was wrong. But they're not.
But Eric, isn't this all still based on the last budget that Biden signed back in, 2022? So he can't impound funds that have already been continually resolutioned. As you're saying, those money already been designated, and Trump didn't sign that budget into law. Biden did.
It's money that's already been spent.
But it's for money like going forward. So he can say, okay, USAID, we're not spending any new money from today on. He can do that for 45 days. But he can't say those bills that are due that we have already agreed to pay or that we've already, we've taken the product and shipped it to wherever, and now we just got to pay for it. He can't use impoundment for that, the way I understand it.
With those, okay, so if they have to pay what we've already spent, does that apply to the farmers too, or no, because they spent their own money and they were just expecting to get reimbursed? So those funds that we promised them, we're not honoring it. Does that count for the farmers too?
As far as the court ruling, I'm not sure. It's probably going to be dependent on have they supplied their product and they're just waiting to be paid, or is it we got an agreement to buy it down the road? The down the road part they might be able to hold off on, and the farmers are probably going to get left stuck holding the bag again, because this is going to be what ends up causing a lot of Republican longtime voters to finally wake up and go, Republicans don't give a fuck about us.
What I'm not sure about is if the already signed contracts, like the contracts for farmers that were already instated, that they backed out of, I would assume those would probably have to go through, but they're not going to probably do any new contracts.
Could be. This is all kind
But
of.
isn't that grain gone already, JD?
Well,
I mean, it's gone.
Well, if they signed, like a farmer signed contracts for this growing season, but they signed it back in, like when Biden was still president, like in December, I could see that being possible. So, half of those contracts will already be paid out, and then it's just whatever's left over on the basis. But I don't know how that works.
Does any of you know that at the end of 45 days, if it's not released, can Congress hold it up? Isn't it up to them to release it?
They're the ones that approve it.
Well, after 45 days, Congress has to agree. Like in that 45-day window, it's for Congress to go back and agree to change the designation of future spending. Okay, so President says, I want to hold up funding for whatever project. Mm-hmm. And you can say to Congress, hey, you know what? Look at it again, come up with a different number. But like 95% of the time when they do that, and this is for all presidents since Nixon, when they passed the Impoundment Control Act, like 95 to 97% of the time, Congress doesn't do anything, and then the Treasury has to spend the money anyway. Congress typically doesn't go back and adjust those numbers. They might at the next time they do a budget, but we're not looking at a budget bill until September now.
So this is like uncharted territory thing, because it's not a position we've ever been in before, right?
Everything is uncharted.
Never done half the shit he does.
Everything is uncharted territory. I'm going to bring in Big Red. We'll see what Big Red has to say. Hey, Big Red, how you doing today?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
We're not doing too bad. It's a busy one. So what's on your mind, sir?
Well, I wanted to let you guys know I am a former Trump supporter. I voted for him.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah. So I did vote for Harris in 2024. But Rational, I really appreciate the way that you talk about MAGA and how we need to address them and point blank, be man to man with them about things and talk to them and put them in their place, because a lot of the issue with MAGA is driven through toxic masculinity and like, hey, if you vote this way, you're deemed as a man as being kind of a bitch in their eyes, right? And that's what a lot of it is predicated from. So I just appreciate, I've watched a lot of your videos, and I just appreciate, the way that you address it. And I think more men, white men especially, need to step up and talk to them that way. And that's how you fight fire with fire, is exactly how you
Absolutely. Do. Let me ask you, Big Red, how MAGA were you before you switched?
Well, I never owned a red hat, and I never went to a rally. But I was deep into the, bullshit conspiracies and, all of that. And, it's just bad. It's not good.
What made you switch?
Thank you. That was my question.
It started with C-19 because I started kind of doing my own research and realizing that a lot of the shit I was being told from the right was bullshit. And then I still hated the left so much that I voted for him in 2020. And then shortly, after that, I started noticing people around me were like, yeah, that was not right. That was rigged or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if I can go that far. And then obviously January 6th happened, and I immediately regretted, but was also happy that Joe Biden had won that election. So it was kind of a weird place for me to be in.
Good for you.
Big Red, my contention is this, that people, first of all, the reason you switched, I can tell you one reason, and I can tell by just talking to you. You have average or above average intelligence. That's one reason you made the change. You had the sense to see what was fucking going on and didn't try to cloud the issue with bullshit. But my contention has always been that the people who support Donald Trump, and see if you agree with this based on people is that people are tired of establishment politics, whether it be Democrat or Republican. There are people who feel like they've been oppressed by the government, that the government has done nothing but take a shit on them. And the moment somebody comes along, regardless if he's a big, dumbass, orange motherfucker, that he comes out and says, hey, I hate the government too, I'm going to fight for you. They just get right behind him, and they'll jump on board that train because that's the only person saying it. Does that resonate at all?
You are 100% spot on.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And that is the most basic, fundamental part of being a part of MAGA, right? The government doesn't work. It's corrupt. And what's funny is I go into MAGA lives a lot under a different account to talk to them. And you would be surprised how many of them agree with being a socialist. If you talk to them long enough, you're like, oh, so you do like socialism, and it's kind of weird. You have to you can kind of get them to admit these things at some point, so I don't know. It's weird, but you're spot on, man. You're spot on with the
Brett,
whole.
I say that all the time because I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania that are mostly Trump-a-fox, and there's a few of us that are pretty outspoken Democrats, but I say that all the time. Like, when you talk to them and give them facts and really talk to them down to earth about what they really feel and think, they're not freaking MAGA. They're not Democrat. They're not Republicans. I mean, they are Democrats at heart. They just have no freaking idea that they are.
Yeah, and the problem is their anger is it's misguided, right? Yeah. They're not wrong in the sense that they don't have as much as they used to, right? They have every right to be angry, but they think putting the billionaire in office is I always ask them this. I'm like, why do you think putting a billionaire is going to change a system that made him a billionaire? Why do you think that the guy is going to go in there and make the system better for you and less of a system that he can take advantage of, right? And then they sometimes they kind of ponder on that, they're like, yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of have a point, and it's, you got to kind of talk to them you got to walk them through it sometimes,
It's the same way whenever I talk to people, the one thing everybody says to me is, well, what we need is term limits. Well, the idea that a billionaire is going to go in there and work against himself is along the same lines that the Congress is going to vote against themselves and give themselves term limits. They're going to enrich themselves. And if they can help you in the long run and make it look good, they will. But if they can't, they don't give a fuck. And Elon Musk, when I watch him talk, this guy is clearly out of touch. I mean, he's lived a life nobody else has lived. He was handed billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, and he bought into things, and he rode everybody's coattails, and he got to the point where he had a lot of money. This guy doesn't know what the real world is about. So when he sees them burning down Tesla dealerships and vandalizing Teslas, he's just flummoxed by it. He says, I can't believe they're so angry. I never did. Everything I did was productive. He honestly doesn't get that what he's doing is in fact destructive.
I that's one of the things that pisses me off the most recently is him, going on TV and shedding these crocodile tears, then going on X and saying the most hateful, homophobic, racist bullshit, and then saying, I don't understand why this is happening to me. It's just it's to me, I'm like, get out of here. Who is buying this shit, man? I mean, honestly, it's a joke.
The people who are
Brett,
buying
can I
it
ask you a question?
are eating horse dewormer.
Yeah.
Those are the people
I
that
want
are
to ask
buying
you
it.
a question,
Exactly.
Brett, real quick, because MAGA never made sense to me. Conservatism made sense to me, but I had a different life. But the one thing I always had, and Mike has, and everyone in this panel has, is empathy. And Musk was on Rogan saying that empathy is for the weak. Is that part of that alpha male bullshit that you were talking about before?
100%.
Because I don't get it.
Yeah, but it all ties back to the old, like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, like, that whole thing that they love to say. Like, I mean, it's all tied together, right? So it's that's part of it. That's part of the...
See, the thing is, why not caring for your fellow human being? Doesn't that make you more manly than not? I've never understood that. That's a hard one for me.
They put more weight into you caring for yourself than caring for
Yes.
Their mentality is hooray for me and fuck everybody else.
Exactly.
That's their whole
when
mentality.
I was a Trump supporter, that's exactly how I thought, right?
Yes.
Like, I thought about what benefits me and me alone. Oh, getting rid of taxes, that benefits me. I didn't give a fuck I didn't think about other people. Like,
No.
that's the difference.
Well, and that's why I said what I said before with Tim Walz and myself. And, Elon Musk, when people started doing what they're doing to Tesla, he's profoundly confused by that. I thought the Democrats were compassionate and empathetic. And the fact is, maybe the politicians are compassionate and above it all and trying to be appropriate and all that stuff. But what he doesn't understand is when you start taking away people's livelihoods, the way to pay rent, their medical care, people are going to get pissed off. I mean, you don't have to be a fucking genius to see that. The Republicans are getting a little upset with Elon Musk because he keeps bringing up Social Security. And they know that's a trigger point. They know that's the one thing that's going to get people really pissed off. I'm not saying they don't want to cut Medicare or Social Security, but they don't want to talk about it. Don't say the quiet shit out loud. I think we, as Democrats or anybody that's going against the Republicans, we should talk about them wanting to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid every time we talk about them. That is the trigger point. That is the one thing that affects most people, including Republicans, and that is the narrative that's going to shut these motherfuckers down.
Well, they don't.
Oh, sorry, Rebecca.
No. Brad, go ahead.
Well, I just have somebody, I won't call them out specifically, but very close to me that's older in age. And they're a staunch Trump supporter. And they live off of these benefits. If these are taken away, they won't be able to live. They won't be able to afford a place to stay, to put a roof over their head, put food in their mouths, and I'm just like sitting here thinking, have the alarm bells gone off at all?
Nope.
And as of late,
Nope.
No,
Do
because they think
that
it's going to be people of color that are going to lose it, not them. Trump won't turn on me. He's going to get rid of the other people. That's their
Rebecca.
fantasy.
Big Red, does he not? I'm sorry. Do they not? The people you're telling about, do they not believe that it'll happen to them, or they think it's fake news? Maybe.
I think it's just willful ignorance. I mean, a part of MAGA is like suppressing, reality to some degree, right? Like Trump said these things, but he doesn't really mean it. Trump did this. Well, he didn't mean to do that, or whatever.
Hey,
I mean,
Red.
it's not rational thinking by any means, right? Like it's not what normal people do, but that's what they do.
Hey, Red, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Since you're a former Trump supporter, would you agree or disagree that the only way that these people are going to learn a fucking thing is when it hits them in the pocketbook?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, and I part of me, I said this post election. I said a lot of it too. To my like this is my belief, and I know everybody's not going to agree with this, but I feel like talking to them almost is pointless. I don't really. I think that they almost need to be kind of put in a corner with themselves and talk amongst themselves and feel what's going to happen, and they don't need any of us to show empathy, because at some point they're going to fall off one by one, and they're going to be looking at those same people going, well, you told me everything was going to be all right. Now everything's not all right, and then they'll kind of find their own path from there. That's what I did, like nobody really talked me out of it. So, I don't know. I'm one person though. That's just my experience.
Rebecca, you've been waiting.
Yeah, I was just going to say that when you were talking about the empathy and the sympathy, like we're not empathetic and sympathetic to anybody who doesn't deserve it. Like we're empathetic and sympathetic to people who need our help, to people who deserve it, to people who, like we're not going to be empathetic and sympathetic to Elon Musk and his Tesla dealerships. Like we're not, like that's not, like we're not weak. Well, I mean the politicians maybe, but like as a party, and those of us like in this panel, we're not weak-minded people. We're not weak. We're not empathetic and sympathetic to everybody. We're not going to not show our true colors to the people who need us to rise up and need us to that are deserving of it. Like we're just empathetic and sympathetic to people who need it, to people who deserve it.
Well, Big Red, I want to ask you something, Big Red. That how I feel about Trumplafucks. They're going to go through it, and they're going to want sympathy, and I have no sympathy for them. But over and above the no sympathy, I have a certain amount of disdain for them, and this is why. Not only do I not feel empathetic for them, I wish them the worst, and if I can make it worse for them, I will, because they fuck themselves over by doing what they're doing, but in the process, they've also fucked over a lot of innocent people who just did the right thing. So they're going to be losers, but they're also still fucking villains.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's the hard part of like what I have to go through, right? Like I have to go through the fact that I supported this guy and was a part of making him what he is today, right? But that's why I'm so outspoken today, trying to make up for what I've done.
I appreciate that.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, the problem is that even on this app alone, I've talked to these people and they've said some of the most horrific shit about other people, people that are suffering. And that to me, I'll never forgive that, like I was never a person going out of my way to wish harm on others, but I see that now. And I live in Missouri, a very red state. And I can tell you, this is becoming a problem. Like this like, I've noticed this with middle-aged white men in where I live. And Missouri is a very Christian nationalist part of this country in the Midwest, right? And I can tell you, I have not seen anger from middle-aged white men in this country on that side ever before like I do now. This group, this party, the hate and the anger, January 6th was nothing compared to where we're at right now with their state of mind. Like the anger is getting ratcheted up every year that goes by. And this is a fucking problem. Like I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but it is. It's an issue.
Are they angry at Democrats or angry at Donald Trump at this
I've
point.
seen a lot of anger at the system, a lot more anger at the system and wanting to just tear the whole fucking thing down.
Hey, Red, let me ask you something else. At what point did you see through all the vitriol and the hatred that turned you? What was the turning point for you?
Well, I think oddly enough, I think C19 was when I started kind of questioning things, because what I was reading online versus what I was hearing from them was not matching, right? I was like, no, this is a problem. Like, I don't know why you guys keep saying it's not an issue. Like, there's obviously people that are unaliving from this
Right.
at a high rate. And that made me question a lot of things. And then post the election in 2020, a lot of those same people who I voted for Trump in 2020, they were like, yeah, something's fishy with this, whatever. And I was like, no, I think everything's fine. I think he just lost. And I was immediately able to accept that he had just lost, right? And then January 6th happened, and I just remember me and my wife were looking at each other, and she's a lifelong Democrat, and I was like, yeah, this is way too fucking far. This is not right. And then it just kind of goes from there, right? You just start doing your own research into things, and then you're like, okay, I was lied to about a lot of fucking shit.
Let me ask you a question, Big Red.
Mm-hmm.
I've said before that people who voted for Trump in 2016, I'll give them a break. 2020, I'm a little iffy about that. After you'd seen what happened in those 4 years where Donald Trump was president the first time around, what was it that held you on to want to vote for him again in 2020? Was it just the culture you were in, or did you see something that he did in that 4 years that you liked, COVID included?
2016 voting for Trump was different than 2020. 2016, right. Trump was representing the lost man, right? That was right. This is my opinion. I'm speaking for myself.
I agree with it.
No, that's
2020. I hated the left. Completely different reasons voting for Trump. I was fed a shitload of propaganda by conservative media that told me that the left was basically trying to strip everything away from me. This core family value, if you will, like the left wanted to demolish all of that. I'm just being upfront with you. Now I appreciate that. I know all of that's bullshit now, right? But there was anger when I voted for him in 2020 versus 2016. And that's what I'm worried about, where we are right now.
Well, that's what the Republicans do. They cultivate anger and fear, and that's how they get votes.
Yeah, and that's why I keep telling everybody right now is worse than it was 4 years ago, because they just keep ratcheting up that fear and that rhetoric, and it's worse and worse. Every year that goes by, it gets worse.
Here's the thing I've always been concerned about. Everybody said there'd be a civil war if Donald Trump loses. I was never worried about that because we're dealing with a bunch of cowards, and if Democrats were in charge, they're not going to walk into that thing. I've said that there's more likely to be violence if he won. Now, I had no idea that he would do the things he's doing now, but I've said this. I said this to Ed on the show. I said, I feel like we're that far from violence in this country, whether it be Republicans or whether it be Democrats. But everything's getting torn apart. People's livelihoods are at stake. People are terrified on both sides, and that's a bad recipe for some fucking disaster.
Yeah, it's not. So it's funny because they all say, on the right, there's going to be a civil, I don't know if I can say it on here, but they say that all the time, right? Civil war.
Yeah.
There's going to be, they have this weird fascination with it, right? And I can tell you right now, none of these people, I don't give a fuck who they are. They don't have, everybody is okay with war until war happens, and then they're like, oh shit. I think what's more likely to happen is what we would call a revolution, because they're going to be hurt by this too. They're like, so you want who do you want to have a civil war with? You know, like with me, I'm not the guy that took away your Social Security. I'm not the guy that took away your Medicare and Medicaid. Like, I'm not the guy,
Right.
you know, you're the one that voted for that. So what do you, and that's what I've been trying to tell people is the most dangerous person to this MAGA movement is MAGA. It's not the left. It's them. Like that's what's going to happen. As soon as they get fucked over enough, they're going to be angry, you know, and they're going to, you know.
Big Red, I will give you a stock tip. I'm not a stock trader by any means, but I just have a sense about this. If there is a civil war, I would invest in Krispy Kremes because that will be MAGA's fucking C rations.
Or Heinz ketchup.
Do you think that they almost
Yeah.
like the conservative media? I don't know. I guess conservative is not what they are, but the right wing, like the media and the Republicans in Congress, is it that they have to ratchet up because it's like they need more and more and more to keep them angry? Because you don't want them to relax and start to think about things, so you have to keep them angry. I wonder if that's what is happening, why they're so angry right now.
The problem with the Republicans is that they don't have a spine, right? Like they're worried about losing power. Like that's all they care about. They just care about power. And if they go against Donald Trump, then like this is the problem with your Nikki Haley's, right? Like she would go out and say things against Donald Trump, but then 2 weeks later say, "Oh, well, you know, he's not that bad of a guy." It's like, well, you just said that he was, you know, shitting all over the Constitution. Like, what do you mean, Nikki? Like, it makes no fucking sense. You know, these things just don't add up.
Yeah. Hey, Red, I have another question. Do you think that the change or the epiphany, maybe, that you had was because of a self-realization, or was it because somebody influenced you to broaden your horizons about what you're consuming information-wise?
I think it was a lot of self-realization and self-reflection. Like it's hard to tell people exactly like what went through my mind at the time, but I just know that nobody was able to convince me. And like, that's the problem with the left is like, if you think you're going to talk sense into some of these people, you're kind of wasting your time, you know?
I agree.
And you're not going to do that. They're going to have to do that on their own. I truly believe that. So yeah, I mean, take it for what it is, but in my case, I did it on my own.
I see.
Well, Big Red, I want to thank you. Big Red, I want to thank you for taking. Oh, you got something, Eric? Go ahead.
I just want to ask him real quick. You were talking about how in like your circles and stuff, you know, him being anti-government and stuff was part of it. But my question is always, or my contention is always that part of the reason Donald Trump was able to rise to power is because he thinks and talks at about a 4th to 6th grade level. Am I right that because he speaks with so simple words that they cheer it because they don't feel like they're being talked down to?
I mean, yeah, it's also he gives simple answers to really complex issues as well, right? Like, I mean, he says healthcare, we're going to have a great healthcare plan. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to have a great healthcare plan. And there's no healthcare plan, right?
Well, it's coming in 2 weeks.
It's not even that hard for him. Like, he just says, yeah, we're going to fix the deficit. And they're like, okay. There's no plan behind it, you know?
Yeah. We're talking about simple-minded people that aren't very bright, and Donald Trump appeals to the lowest common denominator, and there's more lowest common denominator people out there than I ever imagined. Big Red, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm going to get some other folks out here.
Can I say one last thing, Rational, before I go?
Sure, absolutely.
Remember, he was able to drive out people that never cared about politics before. So you're right, Rational. He was able to grab these people that did not give a flying fuck about politics before, didn't even know anything, but he was able to get them motivated enough to show up at the polls. And, you know, that's something that Democrats are going to have to address, you know, going forward.
Which apparently we were not able to, so you're right.
So Big Red, you've been able to prove me wrong on one point because I've always said that Trump-the-fucks are irredeemable. So So you be the only person I've ever talked to that voted for Trump in 2020 that I can honestly say doesn't suck. So
See,
thank
Mike,
you for.
Thank you,
See-
Rational. Hey,
see,
I've
Mike,
been waiting for
Thank
this
you.
moment to talk to you, by the way, because I've watched your videos for about 2 years now, and I've always wanted to tell you, you are exactly what people need to hear on the MAGA side. Blunt, direct, and just tell them, hey, sometimes you're doing some dumb shit, and you need to be told that, that
Right.
you're a
I
fucking
appreciate
idiot.
that.
So thank you.
Well, you'd be surprised by how many people in my family don't appreciate that. So I appreciate the support.
All right, take care, guys. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep, see you.
See, Mike, I told you, not all of them are lost. Not all of them.
Sh-
Most
He
of
was
Yeah,
them
so
are.
just
he was so interesting to like talk to and hear that other side of it, that other perspective. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
yeah, he was. Now, go ahead, JD.
I think it's interesting hearing how the mindset works because we're on the outside looking in, obviously, and to kind of hear how they were whipped up into this frenzy and kind of see what the elements were that fed into that. You can kind of, by hearing that, you can kind of get a feel for how to dissect it and take it apart again. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of people in his camp that we can talk to about it, but when you can, take advantage of that opportunity.
Well,
Yeah,
that's,
absolutely.
that's why I disagree with Mike on the one point. Like you're kind of the fuck around and find out and you get what you deserve kind of person. I'm more of the, you know what? If you fucked around and found out and you're starting to get it, we should embrace you and bring you to our side. Like, I want that. Trust me. If you're gonna fuck around and find out and you're gonna keep doing your bullshit, I get it. But if you're starting to think, hey, maybe I made a wrong choice, maybe there's another side to this, maybe that's what we need to embrace. We don't need to just watch their demise. Like, we need to embrace that and take them into the fold and teach them like why they were wrong all along.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to bring somebody else in to liven things up a little bit. This is
Temptation.
I
knew it.
I got to tell you something. Having TJ the plumber, Rebecca Old Soul, Analytical Iowan, and JD Farmer, that's a tough row to hoe. And now we bring in C Temptation.
We're left, so we're okay.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Yeah.
Happy
I'm
Friday,
good, C. How you doing?
How you doing? Happy Friday to everybody on the panel and in the chat room. How's it going?
TGI.
Cool.
Well, first I wanted to announce before, I make a point on something. Tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m., I'm going to be kicking off my own podcast, and the name of it is going to be called The Political Discussion. And it's going to be kind of like a spinoff on, from last night and tonight. So just everybody's invited. Everybody's welcome to join. Except for the Trumpler fucks.
Are you doing a live then?
Say what?
Are you doing a live? Is that
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We'll be there. See?
Well, we might have to show up late, but we.
Yes.
That's okay, TJ. I mean, I understand you got a life. I get it. I get it.
We have to play bingo. Sorry.
Get that money, baby. Get that money.
One guilty pleasure. Sorry.
It's not my idea. I'm just going to make that clear right now.
You gotta have a life outside of politics.
Absolutely, because after a while it will take an effect on you mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it's important, just from what I had to learn in my personal life, mental health is important.
Well, I'll give you a tip on how to have good mental health. Just don't give a fuck. You just don't give a fuck. I don't worry about shit. I don't, it's just too many people get emotional about all the stuff that's going on, and we can only do what we can do. So we just keep fighting and hope for the best and not curl up and die, because then you're no good to anybody.
You know what, Mike? You did made a video on that one time where you just say, you just got to get to a point where you just say whatever you don't have any control over, just say, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. I do that all the time. And, I sleep well. And, people always say, you know, you got to be careful. You're older now. You're going to have a heart attack or something because you're so wrapped up in this. People have to understand when I do the TikTok, I'm wrapped up in it at that moment, or when I do the podcast at that moment. When I'm done, I don't think about it. I go off and do something else until I hear something else that pisses me off, and then I'll talk about it. I get it off my chest, and I'm cool.
Yeah,
I'm low key.
When I work all day long, I really try not to engage in anything political. I don't try to go down the rabbit hole. I know, and I feel badly because we have that group chat that we're all in, and I kind of ignore it during the day, and then at the end of the day, if there's like 53 messages in the group chat that I haven't caught up on, but like I can't. Like I just have to focus on me and my business, and I can't. I just don't want to be involved with it during that time.
And that makes a lot of sense.
When TJ said he was starting that group chat, he says, "What do you want to do?" I go, "I don't fucking want to do anything. Actually, I prefer to do nothing. I'm not good with those group chats. I'm not good with getting in the mix there and writing things, and I apologize for that.
No.
I don't put my videos in there either because I just figure you saw them already anyway. So what the fuck?
Right.
Yeah, we know who puts the most videos in there.
Oh, I wonder. Yeah, I do look in there frequently, all the time. I'll make a comment here and there, but if people are expecting me to be profound in there, it's probably not going to happen. I'm too fucking lazy for that. If I have to type out words, why would I type out words when I could just say the shit?
That's the same thing I do. If I have a concern that I saw an article or something, I'll put it in there and see if I get any responses to it. But I just during the day, I have a business to run and I have things to do, and I just try to focus on that and politics aside for a while.
I actually really like it, and I can't jump in there all the time either because I have business to conduct as well. But sometimes people will share something, and I'm encouraging other people to do this, and this is why, is that sometimes something gets shared in there that I didn't see.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of stuff I haven't seen.
Yeah,
Right.
so that makes a big difference. Like something that I may have not have seen on FYP gets shared in a chat with like-minded people that I might not have seen otherwise, and I think that's productive. So that's why I really enjoy it.
I also think it's a really good outlet because there's a lot of people that aren't on this live that aren't that they don't have this outlet. They can watch, but they're not really on it. Right. And I think it's therapeutic for them to have a group of like-minded people that they can share these things with.
Well, the point is that even like everyone that's in this live right now, it's 398 people. If you have people that you network with on this app, create little groups and talk amongst yourselves about things that are happening, because you could share information with people that may have not got that information otherwise. And I think that's productive, and I think that's important. And I'll let Mike comment on the rest of it.
Well, and I was just going to say, with 400 people out there right now, TJ, maybe you should promote how they can find this thing. Because, I'll be honest with you, when I do the TikToks and when I do the podcast and I get the comments, there's a ton of comments. And I'm not good at being able to get back to everybody. That's a good place to go to get some information. And if something needs to be addressed by me and is important, TJ knows how to get a hold of me. Eric knows how to get a hold of me. Rebecca. And I want to hear those things. But for me to read all the comments and comment about all the comments, I'd never have time to do the fucking TikToks. So I appreciate you guys doing what you're doing and giving me a heads up when I'm missing it completely. So just tell them how to find this thing. And if they want to be on it, by all means, there's plenty of room.
Oh, absolutely. The best thing to do is send me a DM, and I might ask you a couple questions before I let you in, because there's been some people. A little
vetting there.
Yeah, I got to vet you a little bit, but send me a DM. I don't know who else is an administrator. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but send me a DM if you want to be involved, and if I recognize you, I will immediately add you to the group.
Absolutely. Yeah, I encourage it. It's a great thing. I'm too lazy to be in there all day, every day, but I do go in there And if somebody has questions for me, I'll be happy to answer any questions you've got. And, it's easy. You've got emails and stuff like that. I got to do another email show. I'm so fucking behind on that shit. But
Wow.
I hate that because I got nobody to help me. It's just me. And I get bored with me.
I'd help you.
You have.
Well, yeah.
I'd help you.
Who would help you.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do. Yeah. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we'll do it that way. Have some other people involved.
I wonder if you guys missed something when you're talking about missing stuff. And I just saw it today. I don't know how I missed it. But you guys see Mitch McConnell when he couldn't hear?
No, I didn't see that.
He was like giving a press conference, and they asked him about tariffs, and he said, "I don't hear the way I used to." And so one of his staff members was like standing next to him, and she's like, "They're asking you about the tariffs," and he was like, "What?" And she, took a step closer. She was like, "They're asking you about the tariffs," and he just stood there, and she got her mouth like right up to his ear and was like, "They're asking you about the tariffs." He was like, "Oh."
Is it plausible deniability or what?
Yeah, I think it's plausible deniability. That's what I think it is.
It could be.
Yeah, you guys have got to see that clip. It is hilarious.
That's almost as funny as Eric wearing pants.
Yeah. See Temptation, tell us where you're doing the live again tomorrow so we can all be there.
Okay, it's going to be on TikTok tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Of course, I will be the host, and the name of the show is The Political Discussion. It's going to be like a continuation on what we're doing right now and from last night. Just everybody expressing their own political reviews on these different events.
It got pretty wild last night. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, I was in Trucker T's live for a little bit, and I don't really watch that many lives. And he brought me in to talk, and I'll just tell you this: see, you don't have to feel obligated to bring me in to talk. It's not like I don't have plenty of time to fucking talk. I talk my ass off all day. I want other people to speak too, because I think that's what's important. What I have to say is the only thing I hope with what I say is it inspires other people to talk, because until there's a lot of people talking, what I say doesn't mean anything. So,
well, it means something to me, Mike. I mean, you're one of the people that helped me to come up with the idea to get this started. So it does mean something.
I know, but
but it means something to me.
But it's your show, not my show, and I don't want to go in there and I mean, I'll talk, but I won't be there long because I don't want to dominate somebody else's show.
That's okay. You don't have to be there all night. I mean, even if you just say a few words and express your opinion on something, I'm okay with that.
Those small lives like Trucker and I'm sure yours is going to be the same way because we all love you and we'll be there. Like those small lives are awesome because there's
they are,
especially for us moderators in those lives. Like there's only maybe 40 people, so we can all just really talk our minds. We're not spending time looking for Trump-la-fucks in the comments.
Right.
We really can just it's down to earth talk. And it's really, those lives are really great. And Mike, your lives are great too. It's a little more work for us, but obviously your lives are like a different level. But those
yours is off the chain,
us, like Trucker's lives and Eric's lives, like those lives are like really beneficial to everybody. Like you get a lot of information.
Absolutely.
I like to come in and fuck it up.
TJ gets. I cannot tell you.
That's why I need you tomorrow, TJ.
Right? He is so obnoxious and animated in those lives. It's ridiculous.
It's hilarious. It really is.
Well, and what I'll say to the folks out there listening right now about your lives, about Trucker T or Eric or See Temptations upcoming live, I was there not to be introduced or anything like that. I was actually listening to it. I get a lot of information from a lot of people, and I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of people around me that are smarter than I am or more detailed about stuff. And so when I was there, I was looking for information. I was looking to hear things that I hadn't heard or perspectives that I hadn't heard. And if I can get that out of these things, all of you can too.
And I'm cool with that, But like I said, between you, Will, and Trucker NFT. I mean, you three guys inspired me to kick off a show of my own, though. I mean, because this information is just going to be centered around bringing people awareness. Because we need to
Yeah,
be aware because this country is in trouble right now and people need to wake up.
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, see, thank you very much. I'll check you out tomorrow, and we'll fuck some shit up.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I
Let's
can't
get in
wait
there
to see your
tomorrow night
beautiful
and fuck
face
it
on the
up
big
and kick
panel.
ass.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Thank you, C.
All right. Have
Thank
a
you,
good
C.
night, everybody.
Good
Yeah,
night.
we'll talk to you soon. It's always good to hear from C Temptation. She was a little more low key than normal, but she's a very, very, very bright woman and always brings some good perspective to this. I'm bringing somebody else in. Who is this? Joshua. Joshua, how you doing? What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering, does anybody know or understand about what I have no clue. I mean, all I heard is it's coming out, but do you know of what's happening with that Doge stuff or whatever? That I don't know. I had no idea. I'm just kind of wondering. I'm like, what the hell?
Are you talking about Musk going to the Pentagon?
No, like that Doge money or something that got captured or something and sent out to people or whatever.
Well, I did see an article today that said that the $5,000 is going to be reduced for the refunds. If that we were talking about, that we're all
Yeah,
getting
this,
money. Yeah, that $5,000 is going to be reduced because they did not make the millions that they claim to have
Billions.
Joshua,
Well,
I got
the
some
article
bad.
said
I got some
millions.
bad news for you. I got some bad news for you. Doge is going in looking for fraud and waste. They have not proven any of the fraud or waste. If it's been fraud or waste, the money's already gone. If you're counting on a check from the government, you're not getting a check from the government. This is just a way to keep you happy while they fucking rob you. So there is going to be no checks. I promise you, there will be no checks, no money coming from Donald Trump, Elon Musk, or anybody. First of all, the money's gone. Second of all, they're both pathological liars. And if you believe that, you're silly.
no, I don't believe it. I was just kind of wondering. I'm an independent. When he was first in office, I was totally against it. And when he got
Yeah.
in office again, I couldn't freaking believe it. I was just like, really? What the hell is going on?
Yeah, it is pretty unbelievable. It's like we're in a parallel universe that we never thought could happen. You know, everything that goes on now is something we've never seen before, and clearly the Democrats are acting like it. They're just standing there on their heels and don't know what the fuck to do. So somebody's got to step up and push back. But don't plan on the check. You're not getting a check. Nobody's getting a check, and I'd be glad to debate any Trump fuck on that.
Okay, well, I was just kind of wondering if it was bullshit or what, and I've been watching you for quite a while, so
I appreciate that. And just put it this way, if it comes out of Donald Trump's mouth or Elon Musk's mouth, guaranteed it's bullshit.
all right, I got you. So,
All right. Thank you very much, Joshua. I appreciate it.
yeah, thank you very much for bringing me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right.
Joshua.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you for watching. Yeah,
Hey, Eric,
that
you made me think of something. And Eric, I don't know if you know the answer or not, but so the money that they have not, that's been allocated for certain programs that they're not sending, do you know, like, who is responsible for keeping track of that money?
Should probably fall to the Treasury because they're the ones that pay all the bills. But each individual department would also have to be keeping track of their own budgets. So a lot of different people would have their hand in it. But a lot of that stuff, depending on how it's passed through Congress, depends on how they can impound it, how they can control it. Is it just, oh, well, we gave this much money to this department, and if it's blanketed, then the department has a little more control. But if they have an actual budget with line items, then they're limited in what they can spend it on, what they can't spend it on. And Donald Trump and Elon Musk are not nuanced enough to handle any of it.
Yeah, you're going under the premise that there's any kind of control going on right now at all. No,
Yeah,
nobody
there's
knows.
nothing. There's nothing. I'm going to bring up Kendall. She claims to be a vocal millennial. And Kendall, welcome. What's on your mind today?
Thank you.
Hi.
I mean, not much on my mind. I just dropped in, and you guys seem like a good panel to converse with.
Sure. What are you thinking about? What's bugging you today as a younger person? I've got kids that are millennials, so look at me as kind of a dad figure.
No, for sure. I mean, as a younger person, and I mean specifically as somebody who is a part of the LGBTQ community, I definitely have concerns with that moving forward in our country.
Yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts about? Let me ask you this. Everybody's talking about Social Security, and I remember when I was your age, I didn't think shit about Social Security. Does this whole thing bother you at this point? Does it concern you what's going on with Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? Because you're years away from getting any of that.
Oh no, it absolutely concerns me because it's a system I've paid into for
Yeah.
a while now. And I mean, kind of brought up on the idea that this is your fallback to a retirement plan, which I mean, I have a 401k, but how is everyone's 401k performing right now, you know?
Terribly.
Exactly.
Terribly. I lost thousands of dollars in
Yep, me too.
5 weeks.
I haven't checked mine, so I couldn't tell you. But
Eric, don't look.
Get any good.
You'll puke. Don't
Yeah,
look.
I
I'm
would
too
say
scared to check mine.
don't look. Like mine thankfully hasn't taken as big of a hit as like some that I've heard, but I put a lot of my 401k in foreign investments versus domestic ones.
That was probably a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think things will get better ultimately, but it's going to take you young people to step up. I mean, when we come to the election in 2028, the majority of people voting will be millennials and Gen Zs. So you got to keep that in mind because, you know, we got a lot of old people trying to determine your destiny. We'll be all dead. So you've got to take control and do the right thing come the elections in order to ensure a decent destiny for you guys.
Oh, absolutely agree with that. But I think it's also worth pointing out that, yes, the 2028 election is going to be big, but we're going to have midterms in 2026. And
Right.
we need people just as involved in that as we do in the general election. Like in 2026, we're reelecting 1/3 of the Senate. We're reelecting the House of Representatives. These are the people that are going to be proposing the legislation that goes into the Oval Office or goes into law.
Absolutely.
Kendall, I have a question
Absolutely.
about as a millennial, what do you think about like your generation not really running for certain like offices? They're not running. Do you think there's a fear of like the older people, or they feel like they would never win? Like, why wouldn't they put themselves out there and like run for some of these offices? Because somebody like Maxwell Frost, like we need people like that. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. And I think there's a mix of reasons for not seeing young people of my generation involved in the same way. I think part of it could be the fear of seeing how the young people are so vilified and attacked. I mean, look at how people have attacked AOC for running and put her down for doing exactly what you were told to do, which is quote unquote pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and coming up from nothing. She graduated from college. She was a bartender, and that has been something that is used against her to say that she has no qualifications and no right to be doing this. And there's also the fact that our generation, like, for lack of better terms, we're exhausted. Like, we are young, but we are exhausted.
It's ironic that they would say AOC is unqualified and then vote for fucking Donald Trump.
Agree.
Convicted felon. I mean, what the fuck are you thinking? I'm going to, Kendall, we're coming down toward the end, and I'm going to take one more, but I appreciate you coming on, and please come back because it's important we hear from young people because, you know, we've got baby boomers saying, oh, those damn millennials, and millennials saying, oh, those damn baby boomers. And when people say that to me, I said, well, look, if I'm going to complain about millennials, I have to look at my own parenting skills because I have two millennials that are my sons. And if my millennials want to complain about me, well, they weren't bitching about it when I was buying $200, $300 worth of plastic Batman shit. So don't tell me about who's fucking selfish.
Fair.
All right. Well, Kendall, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I say something about retirement, Mike?
Yeah.
So, a lot of people have 401ks, and a lot of the administrators for their retirement programs have apps you can use on your phone. And
Yeah.
my suggestion to most people right now is to reduce the number of years from your target retirement date. So, if you do that, what happens is, if you say if your retirement date is say 2068, right? Reduce that retirement date to 2040, and your investments will go into more solid, safe investments rather than risky investments, and that's probably a safe thing to do right now because the market is taking a shit. And so if you invest in a target date that's closer to today, like within the next 10, 20 years, you'll be safer in your investments because your administrator will invest in a model that's a safe bet investment rather than a high risk investment. Because when you're young, you invest in high risk investments because if something goes south with that investment, you can make that up. But doing that and investing in a model that is a kind of a false closer retirement date might save you some of the distress of losing money in the market because you can kind of put a cap on high risk investments for the short term for the next basically 3.5 years. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely. I'm going to bring one person in, and I'm strategically making this the last person, and you'll know why in a moment.
Now I understand.
All right.
Now we
British
understand.
British John, here's the deal. I'm bringing you up last because last time you got on, you sent us down a path that got me taken down, and we ain't doing that today. So anyway, what's on your mind, British John?
First of all, I apologize profusely.
No problem. No problem.
I'll be honest with you. The thing I'm thinking about most is the massive change in the retail market that we look at right now, and how stores are changing. Let me explain. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, said that setting fire to any electrical cars beginning with a T was now an act of domestic violence.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This got me thinking that Tesla showrooms are now Target stores.
Right. Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. Let me ask you this, John. A couple things that come into play because of who you are. I know that you have some property, some farmland in Nebraska. How's that going for you now that Nebraska's in trouble?
Well, we are blessed in that the cousins, so that the farm is run by the cousins of the family. It's a long story, but it's a good old-fashioned family farm. They've held the land together, and essentially one part of the family has always worked it, but others own it, and we basically get paid out from the co-op. After all the inputs. Basically, sounds rude, but we don't pay for the labor. That's how it works out.
Okay.
Because the cousins run a very mechanized process anyway. If any of you are sexually turned on by John Deere, don't go in the big house. It is just
What the fuck?
there is a lot of big tackle in there. That's what we call it back in England, big tackle, and it is beautiful. I didn't know my type until I saw that thing, but no, they're blessed. They're outside of the family. They have 5 employees that have been with them for half a lifetime and more, and so they're not heavily reliant. But that's because everything they do is arable. They only, and by that I mean row crops. The only thing that isn't is the pumpkins. And they pay a lot of money to bring those pumpkins in, but the pumpkins is purely a retail operation, so it has a higher margin. Right. That said, and this that might probably mean only something to half of you. What that means is they are blessed, because everybody else in Nebraska, if it's got legs, you're screwed right now. Yeah. The neighbors. We're up on the Platte River up in the Colorado-Nebraska border. So if you're rearing anything there with legs, then winter is your enemy, and winter is hard.
Well, John, isn't pumpkin kind of a thing that happens in Alabama, not Nebraska?
I don't know what the people of Alabama are doing with the pumpkins, but that would explain what the people look like.
Yeah, the jack-o'-lanterns looked entirely different down in Alabama. I'm just saying.
I just thought pumpkin was kind of an Alabama thing, but I don't know.
Oh, we got them here in Minnesota too. One other thing I want to ask you, British John. You're British.
Yes.
You're not American. I don't know what your green card status or citizenship status is. You're not planning any flights to El Salvador by force, are you? You're okay?
No, actually, so that's an interesting story, actually. So I was actually meant to become an American on Wednesday.
Wow.
But they did the test. I'm not dumb enough yet. I'm still working on that. I'm sorry.
Well,
that's not a fun joke. No, I was actually meant to become a citizen on Wednesday, but it had to be deferred because I was testifying in court in Las Vegas against a gentleman that has been being rather aggressive to ladies in a most undignified way. I've been making this very TikTok friendly, and trust me, he's a bastard. And he was.
Is he on TikTok?
No, he is not.
Thank God for that.
He is. Hi, Tom. Yeah, unfortunately, he played a game of chicken with his plea bargain until he realized that I am 270-pound of idiot. And you can't really intimidate somebody who's been shot once and blown up twice in Afghanistan. Just one of those things. So I had to defer. So I'm actually, hopefully, it will go through in a handful of weeks. But the reality of this is, talk about making a good mistake. And this happened today. I realized I'd let my passport expire. Well, that's not true. It expires in 3 months, which is technically means it's invalid for going anywhere other than the UK, because you can't go anywhere with a passport with less than 6 months on it.
Yeah, 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So ironically, I can't go anywhere, and this was kind of one of these. I have a great boss in my corporate world. He wanted me to go to Asia to do a sales kickoff. And I actually said to him, I said, I don't think that's a good idea right now because of my situation being British. And also that I'm an asshole. If you see my TikTok, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see what I'm talking about. I am a professional.
I'll attest to that.
Yeah,
being one myself, I recognize them.
We all follow you.
That's a true story. We watch your videos, so we know.
You're very kind. And so it does raise. There was a band from England coming over, a punk band.
Yes, the UK
subs. The UK subs. We brought this up earlier.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, they let the lead singer in, but told the rest of the band.
But deported the rest of them.
Yeah. We decided that a French scientist a world expert wasn't coming into the country either because he said things about Trump's approach to science. I'm like, huh. Look, let me be clear about this because there'll be some Trump supporters in here, and I want to be clear. I love you. I love Trump, and I love you.
You're gonna get kicked out. You're gonna get kicked out in a second.
And I
By
can
me.
I can say that unreservedly because I'm not having to write material anymore. You people are doing it for me. Okay, I'm just punching
That's
it
true.
up. It is a sad indictment. It really is. I'm putting out one or two of those videos every day. Here's the thing for you. Here's a reason why you should. If you didn't have a good reason to boycott Amazon, let me give you a reason right now. I bought a dressing up outfit, fancy dress, for my daughter for a retail trip we're taking shortly. You've no idea how hard it is to get a National Socialism uniform for an 8-year-old child.
Yeah, it is.
I would have thought those would come as standard right now, but yeah, we are going to be going to a number of Tesla establishments on Sunday, showrooms, with a good number of Bay Area comedians for support, or as we like to call them, camera people, and we're going to have some fun with this. You have
That
to
should be
start.
interesting.
This wasn't meant to happen. I drive an all-electric Audi SUV. It weighs 6,100 pounds. That's the kind of vehicle you could go through Poland in 20 minutes. Who would have thought that my car would be the good guy in this situation?
Yeah, no shit. And I agree with you too. If it wasn't for Donald Trump, I'd be doing puppy videos and have 1,500 followers. So I appreciate what Donald Trump's done for me too.
Well, maybe you should do puppy videos anyway. I like puppy videos.
Rebecca, just for you. I see you're not a follower. I will put up a puppy video on my. I won't put it on as a actual TikTok, but I'll put it up on the. I don't know what you call it, the stories. We have 2 3-week-old puppies downstairs right now.
Yes. Give me the puppies.
But let me be serious for a minute. What I fear for. And if I said this before, do tell me to stop. I have a horrible memory. It was better, but the gin did not work as I thought it would. We didn't know if Trump was serious about getting rid of the Department of Education, and I want to be clear. I recognize the privilege I have. I worked hard for it. My kids at a regular school in elementary here in California. The books are open. Anyone can look at how the funding comes into the school, and we looked at how much money the school receives from the Department of Education for the various programs underpinning IEPs, special ed, transportation, and some meal issues. It was $265,000 a year that this little elementary school gets. We got in the group chat, and this was just the dads, and we weren't excluding the ladies because we're misogynists. We did it because that's the group chat we use for talking about stupid shit that our wives don't want to hear about. Okay, so we turned it into something good for once and not just, memes and boobs. I'm going to be honest with you, it's mainly just boobs. But anyway, some sick freak keeps putting memes in there and we keep telling him not to. Anyway.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than you're looking for boobs and you find a meme. Sometimes it's about boobs, but it's just not the same thing. Anyway,
Absolutely.
In the space of 19 minutes, we timed it. We put together a coalition of all those that could. We're not being critical of those that don't make the kind of money that we do. We said we don't care. This is about our village. Now, this isn't a village. This is a town in the Bay Area, but our school is our village. Okay, we're investing in our own kids. In the space of 19 minutes, we got a coalition willing to underwrite the entirety of that potentially missing budget.
Wow.
and that was just one. That was just the second grade was willing to do it for the whole school. Now, don't get me wrong. That's just because we don't talk to the other kids in the other grades, because why would you? But we said, we'll do this, and then everyone else came in. Don't get me wrong, it's a couple of $1,000 a piece. But we went to and this is a great problem to have. We're not, a lot of us don't like the principal. And so we went straight to the school board, Dr. Schubert, and we said, this is what we're going to do. And it came back with something very interesting. He said, okay, I can't have you do this and I can't have you talk about it, because if you promise to underwrite this, you ruin our ability to sue them for the money anyway. But we're grateful. This is an interesting situation. The problem is the more educated, the more progressive, the more whatever word you want to use, they're gearing up for this problem. And by the way, this all comes into state rights. So if you're on the right, we're here for you on this one occasion. We're here for you, okay? We want education. You want GUNs, okay? That's together we will fight and both get ours. But then here's the best bit. The lady who a lot of us find very annoying that runs the Parent-Teacher Association came back in and said, well, a lot of you work for companies that do donation matching, so tell you what, why don't we do it through that? We'll double the money. We've just funded the STEM lab for the next 10 years by mistake.
Well, you could have done worse.
You're right.
You could have done worse.
That's good.
That's awesome.
I apologize. I don't sound English tonight. I'm actually got one hell of a cold. I'm actually in bed early tonight. It's not the gin. It's old age and flu. But
absolutely, you sound more like you're from Cleveland, but that's beside the point.
I didn't say anything negative about your mother, and yet you come at me with Cleveland. Wow.
John,
What's wrong with Cleveland?
One question for you.
Please.
Well,
did you puke in your mouth a little bit when you had to say Pam Bondi and Attorney General in the same sentence?
I have written up. I don't want to get your live taken up, but I've written up a fantastic, if I do say myself, 3-minute on Pam Bondi, the Barbie Attorney General. It will be its own TikTok. I will be doing it on stage in a couple of weeks' time. Let me just say right now, I love that woman. I love her lack of morals, clear thinking, and communication skills. She is everything I could dream of.
I'm sure she's complete fodder for your comedy act.
And I would just say this: Barbie might be a misnomer. I understand where you're going with Barbie. You may want to add something to it like meth Barbie, because she's a little rough around the edges.
Who was Barbie's stupid friend?
Yeah. I don't even know.
If you're getting ready to close down, and because I'm running the risk here, and I don't want it to happen, but let me throw up some practical advice. I've been thinking about this. I've been talking about this on stage, and I was thinking when I wrote this, I was thinking of the guy that actually. I've actually met Miguel. He's the guy that actually does the seeding operation, the sprouting for the pumpkins over in Nebraska, who has, let's call it, questionable immigration status. He's been there for 30 odd years and no one cares, but apparently there might be some idiot that does. So if you're listening to this right now, and I'm talking mainly to the guys here, if you're undocumented, okay, I've been in that situation. I lived here as an undocumented person for 3 years, and no one cared. No one cares about the Atlantic wetbacks, which is a racist term I was called by somebody a few weeks ago in a MAGA hat who referred to it, and I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I can't write a joke that good. Thank you so much for that, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I do want to say to all those gentlemen that are undocumented, there is an opportunity for you, and you don't need to be scared. As I've told this country, there are a lot of crazy women out there that no one else wants to marry, and this is your opportunity. If you're willing to work in 100 degrees picking strawberries, I can offer you a job with air conditioning and benefits.
And
And
this is where Mike gets.
And
Marjorie
this is
Taylor
where the
Greene
path.
is
This is where the path begins.
Marjorie Taylor
I,
is still single.
John getting
She's
you
still
kicked
single.
off TikTok for 6 days again.
you
Oh
know,
wait, you
I
got done for
appreciate.
6 days? Get rid of me now.
Yeah,
Your
I
merits are
am. I
gone.
am. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Wow. I'm gonna wrap things up here. We went really long this time around, and we stayed safe thanks to Rebecca and TJ. Thanks to JD, Old Soul, Analytical Iowan, Will, and all of you listening. Thank you for participating. That's incredibly important here. Again, this will be a Rational Boomer podcast. You can get it on Spotify or YouTube. It'll go up tomorrow night, and I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Good
Bye,
night.
guys.